Greetings from the far side of the galaxy. I'm Furry, your host the most killing time while I work on the big uploads. What we're doing today is ranking Echo characters on a husbando and/or/waifu tier list. And when I say Echo, I mean like specifically Echo. I haven't finished Arches, Adastra, The Smoke Room. Did do Glory Hounds though. If you don't know what Echo is, it's a visual novel. Free to play, you can find the link in the description, and I recommend you play it by any and all means. It is one of the best, and by the way, spoiler warning inbound. First up, we have TJ Hess. Actually, give me a second. Okay, so it turns out TJ is short for Tobias Jebediah. We've just begun and already I'm itching to put someone in the bottom tier. Either way, TJ is a good choice. He's very blurbo-coated, you know? You just want to hug him so hard his back snaps like a glow stick, and honestly, you probably could do that since he's built like a twink. Sadly, he is friends with a, certain chunter, and seeing as how TJ's route ends, that is certainly bad for your lifespan. We're just gonna put everyone's favorite religious kid in B tier. Next up, we're rolling with everyone's favorite lizard. No, not Flynn, get him out of here. I'm talking about Daxton. Easy S tier, just a stand-up guy I'd actually hang out with in real life. Like, I want to make a joke about his flaws, but like, there's not really any. At worst, he's traumatized at the end of Flynn's route, and let's be real here, that is one of the better things that can happen to you in Echo. After that, we have Clint. Huh, he doesn't have a last name. Let's be real here, he's not a good pick for a waifu and/or/husbando at all. Racist, does drugs, looks like this. And while, yeah, there is a good person somewhere underneath all that, digging to that part is more work than I'm willing to do. He gets D tier. He's bad, but there are definitely worse choices. Next up, we have a piece of plain white bread served up with a nice glass of tepid water. Of course, I'm talking about Chase Hunter. Quite literally, God's most hated creature, and you know what? He kinda deserves it. Where to begin with this pathetic little creature? Do we want to start with the fact that he murdered someone in Lake Emo, or the voice of a ghost miner living in his head? And then there's the voices in his head that don't have anything to do with the miner because he's just a little wacky like that. While he's not good, given the fact that you can do much, much worse, our favorite chunter gets C tier. I'm not going to judge you, but I am going to say you could do better. The next guy we have is Flynn Moore. On one hand, he's mostly immune to all the supernatural stuff in Echo. On the other hand, he isn't immune to being the biggest dickhead in all of Echo. Like, he's not super problematic like some other characters are, but goddamn, could you not be a jerk for like 1 second? He's like genuinely a good friend and all of that, but the second he opens that goddamn mouth, this guy gets B tier, above Chase but behind TJ. The next one, and who's thankfully not a main character for a nice change of pace, is Mr. Bronson. First off, I'm pretty sure he suffers from an important health condition called, hang on, being fucking dead. Looking past that, while he do look mighty fine in camo, he also caught an unfortunate case of the homophobia. Given how we're talking about Echo and the number of you who are straight can probably be counted on one hand, that's probably a deal breaker. Granted, we are talking about Echo, so I'm sure some of you are into toxic relationships. Huh? How does this red wolf who has no relation to what I just said get here? As for Mr. Bronson, we're just gonna throw him in C tier with the other guy with the ghost miner in his head. Coming in next is Julian, the deer guy from TJ's route, in case you forgot. Props to him for being the only Echo side character to not get metaphorically and perhaps literally murdered by the narrative. Kudzu gets shot, Daxton gets traumatized, Raven gets mindfuck mansion, and Micah meets Brian. But Julian gets to go away pretty much scot-free. He gets A tier, a good friend who probably should be more worried about Chase than he thinks. And after that, we have everyone's favorite trash animal, Micah. All in all, you gotta respect him for being the only one of the Tetanus Alley gang to have decent morals. Helping the gang find Carl and even helping the gang fight Brian, so you know what? You get a pass. I'm sorry for saying I liked you better on the back of a milk carton. Probably should go an A, but you know what? I'm feeling nice. S tier. The next guy we've got is Kudzu. Yeah! Literally the only person in Echo I trust my life with, and he's pretty good at it too considering he actually saves people's asses. I just wish Chase would stop being a little piss baby and peeing at the worst moments. You get S tier. You're too good for the chunter. And after that, we have Leo Alvarez. Huh. Echo looks different than I remember. While I'm tempted to say sploosh, go in Lake Emma for obvious reasons, like, well, everything in his route, Jenna's route, and Flynn's route, it's worth noting that in all of those instances, he can actually get over himself and be a normal guy. So yeah, you can't fix him, but a decent therapist almost certainly could. He gets D tier. Also, what you're seeing on screen is not actually a Leo mod for Guilty Gear Strive, it's a William Adler mod, I'm just using the Leo colors. My friend Dust made it, and of course I'll put a link to it in the description. And the one after that is NG. NG. Who the fuck is NG? Oh, he's that dude from TJ's route, living in Sydney's house. Given that's all I know about him, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw him in Lake Emma. I barely know you, and frankly, you don't deserve this, but that tier's looking a little empty, so sploosh. And since we're filling out that bottom row, let's get to it now. Brian. If you don't know why he's here, you clearly never played Echo. Sploosh. Duke. Not only do you do nothing about the guy who murdered your wife, you pal around with the guy. Sploosh. After that, Jeremy Be Gay. Your design is way too good to see your sister and her friends get kidnapped by a psychopathic murderer and do nothing. Sploosh. Then, the Socket Man, an extra-dimensional entity that constantly teleports away to moments of tragedy. It's also mildly murderous, so you know what? It's going right down to the bottom of Lake Emma. Sploosh. And finally, moving back to characters that deserve human rights, we have Heather. Honestly, given the implication of what her dad did to her, I don't even feel comfortable putting her on this Echo husbando and/or slash waifu tier list. Heather gets a cup of hot cocoa. The next guy we have is Samuel Ayers. Oh, hang on. There we go. Huh. Why does Echo look different again? I don't know much about the smoke room, I'll play it later, probably, but for now, all I gotta say is, I didn't expect the voice in my head to be an old DILF. I do wish you would stop telling me to make the wrong choices. Part of me wants to stick him in Lake Emma, the other part of me bets that Ghost Puma Old Man Armpit Musk smells really good. Huh? Did someone say something? I didn't. D tier. Once more, another Guilty Gear Strive mod made by my friend Dust. Link to it in the description. The one after that is Raven. I know this is sort of like a nitpick or whatever, but it pisses me off that Raven isn't actually a Raven. I do love his ride or die attitude and positivity. He's pretty much half the reason the crew didn't lose their mind in that weird dream hallway and weird dream cabin. I am glad that he and the main characters managed to stay friends after Carl's ending. Against my gripes with his name, he gets A tier. And after that, we have the Embrace, the Chase Hunter Tulpa, the Chunter Tulpa, the Chulpa. While he is missing the dead rat dangling from his face, which is a plus, he's also, like, not an actual creature? Quite literally, a hallucination made manifest, and one that is unreasonably obsessed with Leo, and while that may be relatable to a lot of you, it's not very healthy in the long run. I'm just gonna err on the side of frankly obvious caution and put him in Lake Emma. Sploosh! But now for the real question. Completely naked and covered in oil, who's winning the twerk off, the Chunter or the Chulpa? Y'all should be grateful I didn't provide an image to go along with the question. Be sure to thank me in the comments. After him, or maybe it, I don't actually know the Embrace's pronouns, we have Carl Hendricks. On one hand, a bit of a neat who plays video games and smokes weed all day. On the other hand, is very rich. The bag alone is enough for me to put him in A, but the fact that it's also possible for him to move past his problems, seen in his good ending, makes me put him in S. Keeping it in the family, we go from Carl Hendricks to James Hendricks. It's honestly crazy how out of all the people in Echo's history, he's probably the worst. Like, do you understand how bonkers that is? When there are people like Brian and actual monsters, this dude's the worst. Go join the Socket Man in the lowest parts of Lake Emma. Sploosh! And then we have James's ex, John Begay. While he did get a little stabby, I think it's understandable. If your legacy was tainted by your ex and you went down in history as a murderous PDF file, you'd be pretty stabby too. He gets D tier because he does actually kill someone in the bad endings. And finally, to finish out this list, we move on to the one and only Jenna Be Gay. It's really an all or nothing bag. It's either the good ending where Jenna is a nice stable person and moves past her issues, or it's the bad ending where she gets the highest kill count in Echo's history. The good ending would put her in S, but the bad ending does put her down in A tier. And that pretty much rounds out the tier list. I know there's a few we're missing, but they're mostly too minor for me to care about. Now let's go ahead and round this video out with our Patreon shoutouts. For our 3 stars, we have special thanks to 87 Werog, Deku, Zora Chow, Choron, Garen Lafay, Drown King Yara, Unknown RC, Lightning Shadow, and Kayun. For 4 stars, we have Miki Moon and Miko, the Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. For our Super D2per special 5-star shoutouts, we have first Vanilla Flower, the Ultimaya Tzolk'in. Second, Poor Mage, the Glaive Blaster. Then The Good Old Days, the Crimson Dragon. Followed by Odari Lion, the Cosmic Blazar Dragon. Next, Sky King 64, the Revolution Synchron. Finally, Mahagasaur, the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Thank you for watching. Do be sure to like and subscribe and check out my Ko-fi and Patreon. As always, I'm your host Fury, signing out.